Trump unveils Gaza redevelopment plan without consulting Palestinians. Ukraine, Russia hold first direct talks on latest U.S. peace plan. Iran will treat any attack as all-out war against us, says senior Iran official. Defiant protests over U.S. immigration crackdown, child's detention. Trump threatens Iran with U.S. fleet as death toll rises. U.S. President Donald Trump has unveiled a controversial plan to rebuild Gaza, promising a transformed coastal hub of tourism, high-rise buildings, industrial zones, and hundreds of thousands of new jobs. The proposal was presented at the World Economic Forum in Davos without consultation with Palestinian leaders. Trump announced the creation of a so-called Board of Peace to oversee Gaza's reconstruction. The board would be chaired by Trump and include Jared Kushner, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. Permanent membership reportedly requires a $1 billion fee, and its charter suggests ambitions extending beyond Gaza, potentially challenging the role of the United Nations. Trump and Kushner outlined a four-phase development plan, stretching from Rafah in southern Gaza to Gaza City in the north. The blueprint includes more than 100,000 housing units, 180 coastal skyscrapers, a new airport, and industrial zones. The plan claims it would generate $25 billion in investment and raise Gaza's economy to $10 billion by 2035. Negotiators from Russia, Ukraine, and the United States met Friday in Abu Dhabi for the first direct talks on a peace plan promoted by U.S. President Donald Trump to end the nearly four-year war. Washington's initial proposal was criticized in Kyiv and Western Europe for favoring Russia. Later versions were rejected by Moscow for suggesting European peacekeepers. Now, all sides are back at the table. Ahead of the talks, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said territory remains the central issue. Russia continues to demand that Ukraine withdraw from the eastern Donbas region. After the first day of meetings, Ukraine's chief negotiator Rustem Umerov said discussions focused on the framework for ending the war, with further talks scheduled for Saturday. The UAE Foreign Ministry confirmed the negotiations are part of ongoing efforts to find a political solution. The meeting follows Trump's discussions with Zelensky at the World Economic Forum in Davos and separate talks between U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. The diplomacy comes as Ukraine faces continued Russian strikes. Thousands in Kyiv were left without heating in sub-zero temperatures, and recent attacks have killed several civilians. The European Union has accused Moscow of deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure. Iran has issued a stark warning to the United States, saying any attack on Iranian territory will be treated as an all-out war. A senior Iranian official said Friday that Iran's military is on high alert ahead of the arrival of a U.S. aircraft carrier strike group and other American forces in the region. Speaking anonymously, the official said the current U.S. military buildup may not be intended for direct confrontation, but Iran is preparing for the worst-case scenario. The official warned that any strike, whether limited, surgical, or large-scale, would be viewed as a declaration of full war. Iran, he said, would respond with maximum force. U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed that an American naval armada is moving toward Iran. However, he said he hopes it will not be used, while renewing warnings to Tehran over its nuclear program and its treatment of protesters. Iran's official reiterated that any violation of Iranian sovereignty would trigger a response, though he did not specify what form it would take. He added that a nation under constant military threat has no choice but to prepare every available capability to defend itself. The U.S. military has previously increased its presence in the Middle East during periods of tension. However, last year's buildup preceded American strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, raising concerns that history could repeat itself. Thousands of protesters took to the streets of Minneapolis on Friday, braving freezing temperatures to oppose the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. The demonstrations come amid growing anger over the detention of a 5-year-old migrant boy during a federal immigration raid. Dozens of restaurants, shops, and attractions closed in coordinated protest against the ongoing immigration enforcement operation in Minnesota. Public outrage intensified after images spread of a frightened preschooler, Liam Conejo Ramos, being held by immigration officers as they attempted to arrest his father. School officials say Ramos and his father, Ecuadorian asylum seeker Adrian Conejo Arias, were detained outside their home earlier this week. The district superintendent alleged officers used the child to draw others out of the house, a claim that has fueled further criticism. Protesters marched through the city, some carrying signs reading, "5 years old, dude," while chanting demands for ICE to leave Minneapolis. One demonstrator told reporters, "If we don't fight, fascism wins." Thousands of ICE agents have been deployed to the city as President Trump pushes forward with mass deportation efforts. Vice President J.D. Vance defended the officers' actions during a visit to Minneapolis, saying agents were protecting the child after his father fled. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk has called on U.S. authorities to end what he described as harmful treatment of migrants and refugees. U.S. President Donald Trump has renewed his threat of military action against Iran as reports emerge of a growing death toll from a harsh government crackdown on nationwide protests. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One while returning from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Trump said the United States has a large naval force moving toward the region. "We have a massive fleet heading in that direction, and maybe we won't have to use it," Trump said. "We're watching Iran very closely." Trump has previously urged Iranian protesters to challenge their government and claimed that, quote, "help is on the way." Last week, he said tensions briefly eased after Iran signaled that killings had stopped and that detained protesters would not be executed. The Pentagon has not officially confirmed the fleet deployment. However, U.S. media reports say an aircraft carrier strike group is traveling from the South China Sea toward the Middle East. Iran has been shaken by anti-government protests that began in late December. A severe crackdown has followed, with mass arrests, widespread fear, and a near-total shutdown of internet and international phone access. Monitoring groups say connectivity remains far below normal levels, making independent verification of casualties extremely difficult. Iran's government claims just over 3,000 people have been killed. International human rights groups report far higher numbers, ranging from 4,500 to more than 20,000. One monitoring group, HRANA, says over 5,000 have been killed and more than 26,000 arrested. Many victims reportedly include women and children.